Welcome to the Extended Branch, a podcast aimed at demystifying the fraternal aspects of Freemasonry. I am Brother Kevin Cotter. With me tonight are my co-hosts Andrew Rizzatello.
Hello.
And Billy Bilbo.
Hi, everyone.
And on this episode, our guest for the podcast is Brother Adam Reich.
Greetings and salutations.
Very good.
Thoughts and opinions expressed by the participants and guests of the Extended Branch are their own, and while open dialogue is the goal, we acknowledge our comments do not represent any official statements or positions of any grand jurisdiction. Our conversation will be kept open in keeping with our obligations and to avoid any spoilers for those interested in joining Freemasonry. If you like what you hear, we would love for you to click, share, comment, or check us out on YouTube and iTunes. Where else are we?
Pretty much everywhere. We are through Google Podcasts, Pandora, all that wonderful stuff. You can find us.
That's right. Check out our episodes and subscribe. We love to hear your feedback. For all the brethren out there, the podcast helps out others. So if you help us by spreading the word, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we don't exactly have merch right now, but all you can do is give us a good share on Facebook or whatever social media platform you prefer.
Pins for all.
Thumbs up. We can do a
yes.
thumbs up on the video for it.
A pin on every lapel.
Listen,
Yes.
a pin. Yes. The
I want
wages of a master mason.
I have all the flair.
How you doing, Billy?
I'm good. How are you, Kevin?
Good, man.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Just doing fine.
Andrew, how are you? Hope things are well.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Coffee talk?
Coffee talk. Yes.
555-4444. Give you something to talk about?
Chat amongst yourselves.
Of Silver Clem.
Architectural revolution. Neither architectural nor revolutionary. Discuss.
So we're back again. We were just saying, what is this, number 4?
Yes.
Of the series, and we have with us Adam Reich.
Pleasure to be here.
It's Reich.
Reich. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I got it all.
I always do
have it
that.
all.
You can mispronounce my last name. Everyone does it too.
How do people mispronounce Bilbo?
There's lots
It's 2
of
syllables.
Yep.
And it's clearly spelled out.
Biblo, Bilbao.
Well, that's because they don't read.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an extra B in there.
Bilboa. I get all the time people add an A. It happens.
Sorry.
So, jumping in, speaking of things that are to talk about, we're going to do our segment Pass the Gavel. I'll start. I actually have something this time instead of not talking about anything.
It's his segment in the first time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I see how it is.
that was what I was talking about. Nothing. I was just talking about the segment. I introduced it. That's how it went. So I am actually giving my first actual, presentation at the lodge this Tuesday. So
Excited.
I am. I'm pretty excited.
And we are too.
Yeah. Oh, are you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, all
absolutely.
right. So anyone who's listened, if you guys are listening to this now or watching it now, you kind of know that on one of the previous episodes, I kind of fanboyed out on Marquis Lafayette, and I kind of rolled with it, and I've now immersed myself in his world, and it's you guys will be interested to hear. I mean, there's all I want to say, just like a lead in, that there's 2 sides to every story, and he is no different whatsoever. So you'll be interested to see what I got for you guys.
Cool.
Sounds
Can't
good.
wait.
Looking forward to it.
So I'm passing the gavel to Andrew.
No.
No, please.
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, we're done. That's
Please,
it.
no.
Whole
Please.
episode. Nothing really special going on my end, besides last episode I announced that I was going to be a Shriner. This episode, and I was going to talk to Adam about this, but I'm going to say it publicly. One of the things I had planned for my year was a Star Wars themed degree, because our lodge meets on Tuesdays, and this year May 4th falls on a Tuesday.
Oh yes.
So I wanted to go along with that and have all of my officers dressed in costume and whatnot. However, our Grand Lodge pshawed that away because they want it to be more of a solemn experience.
I can understand.
So,
that, though.
all right, I'm not going to push for it. That's fine. Kind of sucks, but whatever. I
asked.
get the idea.
Yeah.
I got off the phone with a Right Worshipful, however, before coming here tonight.
Oh yes.
And we were discussing making a Star Wars degree.
Oh.
From the ground up.
That'd be
And here's an interesting thing. There is, if you go through like Star Wars Jedi lore.
Oh my God,
a
yes.
lot of similarities between
It's incredibly philosophy
an,
filled.
an apprentice, you know,
Yeah.
a master,
Absolutely.
And-
the core
and
values of a Jedi.
And in that respect, the Shriners they have their own like silly degrees. They're this year I think they're going to be doing a pirate degree. So everything that has an
Are you a Mason?
Yes, seriously, they're gonna
man.
yeah, and then they have a hillbilly degree
Yeah.
because that's what the Shriners
I mean,
are.
it's not a far stretch. I mean, there's similarities that can be made. You can attune the Jedi creed to some of the things that we teach as Masons as well. So it's not like it's not like something out of the blue.
There's things I can't talk about because of obligational reasons, but I'll discuss with you after, or all of you guys after. But it's already bubbling.
Nice.
With that, I will pass it to Kevin.
Thanks.
Anybody
So,
want a cat?
so yeah, I'm gonna skip that. So I don't actually have too much from our last episode. Things are well. Everybody's healthy. Very happy because of that. So that's me tonight.
Hooray.
Sorry.
Happy you?
Yeah, happy me.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of
I do
course.
appreciate it. So, pass the gavel, good to the order, I guess. Both of my boys went back to school this past week for the first time in over 50 weeks.
Oh yeah, I saw on Facebook.
Yeah, they were really excited. The transportation schedule is hell on wheels,
I'm
let me
sure.
tell you. But I drop them off in the morning. I go to work. I pick one of them up midday. He comes to the office with me, and then either my wife takes him home or he comes home after me, and then my mother picks up the Braden.
That's
so
nightmarish.
what does he do? He's doing half day virtual.
They're all
or-
half day. They're all half day in class, and then they're half day virtual.
Okay.
And then Braden is in
know.
pre-K 5 days a week, and Ethan is virtual 1 day a week. So I'm home 1 day a week with him, and then Friday afternoons I'm home half day. It's just
Yeah.
schedule's crazy.
That's very hectic.
But they both get to have the interaction with their friends that they haven't had yet because it's all been over the computer. They get to have the interaction with their teacher, and they finally get to be invested with their teacher, which is a fantastic thing. And I have an office buddy 4 days a week. And
Here, file this.
well, yeah, no, but it's funny because your headphones reminded me, like, he puts on his headphones when he's in class, and he has no idea how loud his volume is. And then,
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then I made the biggest mistake ever, and I got him a swivel chair. So on Monday,
You're
the
the
chair,
best
he
dad
goes, it's a swivel chair.
Really
And he's literally
kind
sitting here
chair.
like this the entire time during class, and the chair is not
Yep.
all that quiet. It goes, wheat, wheat.
Oh, there's
So
so
the sprinkler.
And yeah, my OCD just kind of went a little bit, but he's having fun. He's got his own little desk in my office.
Where's
and he's
that
really enjoying it.
WD-40?
Yeah, or the duct tape.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And then
Duct tape
nail
into a wall.
Yeah. You sit there now. But it's good to see their attitude changed immensely over this past week. Just being able to be back in class with their friends and not being stuck at home. And I know that things are still crazy, and I know we still have to be cautious and whatnot. Our school district is only running at 45% capacity, based upon the choices of the parents and whatnot. But and it's not any sort of semblance or anything of normal life.
Normal. Yeah, it's like
But
for a while.
it's something that, and granted, 20 years down the line, they're going to look back at this with fond memories no matter what.
Let's hope.
But we were
Yeah.
just concerned that they weren't going to have a full year of school without meeting their teachers.
Yeah.
So at least they get something. So that's my good to the order as I pass the gavel back.
All right, back to me. Thank you, gentlemen. So now we know we're all humans, not robots. That's very good.
I didn't check that box when I came
We
in.
did.
though.
You did. When
Oh,
you
I did?
you
How many bicycles do you see?
Click all the lights. It's on the line.
Everything that is in color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
All
are
right.
good glasses.
Yeah.
So now, are you guys ready for Name That Mason?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see
we're
what you
ready.
got this week.
All right. So
I need to reclaim my crown.
Yeah, I stumped them. Did
You
you hear?
have no competition with me, so go
I
right
got
ahead.
you. Oh, you may actually.
All right.
I geared
Marquis de
this.
Lafayette.
and, no,
Oh, okay.
certainly not. That's been done. It's been done. This famous Mason has released 4 rap albums.
Oh, you know this one.
It's not KRS-One.
It is not KRS-One.
Yeah.
Was that the Connecticut?
Oh,
See? Come on.
starts with an A. Apathy.
No.
That's his rap name, though.
I don't know who that is.
Is he? Okay, continue with
All
your
right,
clues.
It's definitely not him. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get a good one.
Do you need a Dungeon Master screen?
I think he does.
I do.
Yeah.
So the press has called him the Big Cactus.
The big cactus.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Shaquille O'Neal?
It is Shaquille O'Neal.
Wait.
Wow.
What was the first clue? This rap?
This famous Mason released four
Four
rap albums.
albums.
rap. All right.
It's Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay.
With his first Shaq Diesel going
Yeah.
platinum.
Yeah. Shaq Fu.
Yep,
Damn.
Shaq Fu, very crazy. He started in LSU with the Tigers, and he was the first overall pick in 1992. We'll go into the Magic. He played for the Magic, the Lakers, the Heat, the Cavaliers, and the Celtics, and Dream Team 1 and 2.
Can you imagine?
And 2 and 3, I'm sorry.
Can you imagine him going through the degrees and going, I have to get an apron-sized what?
Yeah. yeah,
Yeah.
right?
He was made a Mason on site.
Yes.
Yeah, Widow Sun Lodge, number 28 in Boston in 2011. Prince Hall. He's a Prince Hall
He's Prince Hall
Mason.
Mason.
He was born in Newark, and
Yep.
happy birthday, Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh,
Today
today's
is his
birthday?
birthday.
Yay.
Happy birthday,
day,
Shaq.
day of recording 3/6 is Shaquille O'Neal's birthday.
Yep. Yeah, he was made a Mason on site, and actually he's a really good dude.
Yep.
Like if you've looked up his accolades, like one of the
Yeah.
first things he did, instead of going out and blowing his money on the cars and houses, he paid off all his mom's bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's
his-
been an inspiration since I was in middle school, because that's when he was on the Magic. Him and Anthony
And
Hardaway.
he does a lot
Yeah.
too.
He
I mean,
does.
he's not just NBA. I mean, obviously we talked about him as being a
He's a
right,
DJ.
a rapper,
DJ, and-
He's a consultant.
Yeah.
He just
and
did
stuff
a
like that.
stint on AEW. He just power bombs. What's his name? Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, he has a couple advanced degrees also.
Yeah.
He masters, I think.
didn't
He knows
look
the
up.
general.
Yeah.
He knows the general. I
He
should
does.
slap
He
you.
definitely knows the general. His stepfather actually was a general, I believe. Hold on.
What- No, I think he was just a sergeant.
Career Army Sergeant.
Yeah.
Career Army
yeah.
Sergeant.
Yeah. Shaq's a really good dude. So, as goofy as, and he's a goofball.
Yeah.
Absolute goofball.
Yeah. Well, here's a funny story about him. So, when he was a favorite during his basketball career. Everyone loved to talk to him because he was very charismatic and he was good with the game and everything. But when he didn't feel like speaking, he would go sit in the press cubicle and he would sit and he would mumble to himself like this, and then nobody could understand him. And he would do that to the whole interview so that they couldn't get an interview. And then they would ask him one question and he would do that. He'd go, and then they'd be like, all right, we're not talking to you anymore. We got it.
That's good.
All right, number 2. So this famous Mason started his career in Swan Lake, New York in 1955.
Swan Lake, New York.
Mm-hmm.
In what year?
1955.
Go on.
Yeah, give me another clue.
He won an Emmy for a voiceover of Rabbi Krustovsky in The Simpsons.
Who's Krusty? Who's Krusty's voiceover?
You guys want the last clue?
I'm not a.
You're not a Simpsons fan? Where's
I mean, I like Simpsons, but I'm not a.
Oh, even I know this one. So this one I can only get away with one time. You guys ready?
Oh God.
It's Jackie Mason.
Is it really?
Really?
He's not a real Mason,
Yeah.
but his last name is Mason.
What?
Wow.
What?
He was never married, so
That's it. Off the show.
No.
That's it. Ming's the new guy.
Yeah.
Put him in this chair.
definitely not. Because
Wow.
that was my dad joke for you guys.
So,
So
I don't know if I
Jackie,
should feel lucky or not.
I do. Well, I stumped you guys twice. I'll
no,
count it. I'll
that
count it.
no.
What do you mean no?
Just go on.
All right. Anyway,
I swear.
he was born Yakov Moishi Maza in 1931, June 9th, 1931, and he was actually kicked off of the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964 because Ed Sullivan thought he gave him the finger. For real.
I don't doubt it.
He banned him from the show until 1966, and they went to court, and Jackie Mason sued Ed Sullivan for libel because he was talking shit about him or stuff about him on the air, and they made amends, and they came back. Oh, what was his joke when he came back? Hold on. It was great because it reminded me of my wife. If you got those people who know my wife, they can.
For everybody out there in podcast land.
Yeah. Where is it?
Oh, come on.
Oh,
You
okay,
can't
so
have dead air like this.
So upon his return to the show, his first line was, "It is a great thrill and a fantastic opportunity to see me in person again."
That does sound like Jackie Mason.
Right? Absolutely. All right. So that's it. Those are the Masons. I'll give
Is that
I'll
the
give you
dad joke for the night?
No, there's the
Because, I mean, there's going to be some on my end, I'm sure.
well, and the real one, like the actual dad joke has to come. That's coming now. So it's a good segue.
Okay.
All right, Adam, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, you ready for the BBQs? Because I am Billy Bilbo, and these are my questions.
By all means.
All right.
Wait, I got to get a soundboard in here. It's going to be a soundboard.
Boing.
And no. Like of a grill going, and like you hear Dad, who wants a cheeseburger?
Or if we don't get a question wrong, it's womp womp.
It's not a bad idea.
Right? Pop a beer open.
Yeah, right? When they get an answer right, you hear a beer pop. Stop it.
Peter Griffin, who touches thermostat?
Someone in this planet has touched the thermostat. All right, so
Hit me.
Adam, you are a Mason.
I am.
What first drew you into becoming a Freemason?
So I went to college at Syracuse University, and during the latter portion of my tenure there, I lived in a house, an off-campus house, with a fraternal brother who was a graduate student, and he joined a local Masonic lodge, and he would come back late night after his meetings, and I was usually up late working on architecture. Design work or whatever else it was, and we used to have these esoteric conversations over, late dinners and drinks on the differences and similarities between Greek fraternities and the Masonic fraternity, and he couldn't delve into the Masonic side because obviously I was not a Mason.
Right.
So post-graduation, when I moved back home, I was lamenting to my mother one night that I missed those conversations because it was nice to talk about something that wasn't about school, that wasn't about Greek life,
But still,
necessarily.
but still a little adult.
Yeah. It was nice to have an adult conversation in a semi-not adult world.
Yeah.
And my mother just said, well, your grandfather was Mason. And I had no idea. None whatsoever. I lived at the time, and still do, 6 blocks from our lodge. Did not know that it was an active lodge because if you're not around on a Tuesday night,
No.
It's a parking lot.
It's a parking lot. You don't see anything there. I thought Masonic Temple was on the outside of the building. I thought it was religious. I didn't know any better.
I understand why it is, but I've wanted to change that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, right, and that's But so I spoke to my grandfather, and after a couple conversations, I asked him if he would recommend me, and I petitioned a lodge in Neptune, which is no longer there.
Well, the building is.
The building there, but right, the lodge sold the building.
The very specific building.
Yes. Yeah, that is basically you can see it from space.
Yeah.
And so I petitioned in early 2005.
Aught 5.
Aught 5. Every time someone says Aught 5, I think of like Shawshank Redemption.
Me too.
Yeah, all right. But I'm going to build a library next. So I petitioned in 05, and I was in early 05, and I was raised in November of 05.
Very cool.
And so that began my Masonic career.
So when you first went, I'm assuming it was a little bit different than the way our lodge is now. What kept you going back to that lodge?
The lodge that I joined was a lot older, age-wise.
Right.
A lot of the members were retired or nearing retirement. I think when I joined,
Well, I wouldn't really consider Neptune a young. Well, at least.
Well, you got to understand too. Neptune, the Masonic lodge that I joined was a merger of two different lodges.
Asbury and Jordan.
Asbury and Jordan became Asbury Jordan 142.
Where was Jordan from?
Jordan was from, if I remember correctly, I think it was the New Egypt area.
Oh wow,
think.
really?
Oh, wow. Way out
and
west
Asbury
there, yeah.
was in
Duh.
Asbury Park.
Right, yeah.
And they merged, and they originally they met separately together. They created a United Masonic Temple Association that owned the building.
Got it.
And they met on different nights, and
Right.
then the membership became such that they
Needed to merge them.
Yeah.
To keep
That's
it
what
alive.
that's what
Yeah.
goes down at Harmony down in Tom's River.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Sunrise Harmony.
Sunrise Harmony.
There's
and,
two.
and there's a lot of lodges.
Yeah.
Ocean Lodge.
What's that?
in-
Right off Route 37.
On 37, yeah.
I
Ocean
see that
Lodge,
one.
Across from the
Sunrise River,
hospital.
a bunch. There's some lodges that keep the name. There's Gothic, the Bluestone Mystic. I'm getting the order mixed up.
I
but
was at the leadership conference with someone from
some
there.
lodges,
Yeah,
some lodges
crazy
merge
name.
and they combine the names. Some lodges merge and one takes over the name, whatever it was. In
Right.
this case, they merged. And you're right. I mean, the area. We were on Route 33, so we didn't have that community feel as much. We weren't too far from the downtown Neptune area and whatnot, but it was an older lodge. The membership was older, and even though I was probably at the time the youngest brother in the lodge, they put me right to work.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, well, I could climb ladders and I could hang decorations, and I had the memory for ritual and whatnot. So
Yep.
I got drafted the night I was raised. I was actually raised in Caesarea Lodge
Right.
in
Come on in, young
November.
blood.
Yeah, I was raised in November, and the night I was
Caesarea
raised,
is in Keyport. For
Keyport,
those.
yeah, right
yeah.
on. One of
right on the
those
shoulder,
streets.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I was. Depends on how you look at New Jersey. I call it the shoulder. You can call it
I
whatever you
don't-
want,
I don't
but
like-
I'm doing it to not offend the people who live in that area. So.
Fine. Very diplomatic. of him.
Exactly. So I was raised and was immediately asked to join the Tall Cedars.
Oh.
2 weeks later, I was asked to join the Scottish Rite.
Oh, wow.
And
Damn.
3 weeks later, I was installed as senior master of ceremonies.
Wow. Did
3
you
weeks
bite
later, I
on all
demitted
the?
right.
That's enough.
The worship brother who was worship master at the time came downstairs and congratulated me and said, "Tall Cedars meet next Friday night. Come join us." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But it very quickly became like a home, like we have now. But these gentlemen felt like my grandfathers to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was a very nice feeling. A couple guys took me under their wing, knew that I was new, knew that I was. Something's coming for us. Something's coming.
It'll pass.
Okay.
Lulu, is that you? Please take Andrew first.
No, I'm the one who summoned him.
Yeah. So anyway, so they were like grandfathers to me, and it was a very nice feeling. And when Tara moved down in 2008, I was already a Mason, so I had things that going on in the lodge and whatnot, and she joined me, and she became part of the family. And so her first friends, not from school, but her first friends outside of her school were my brothers and their wives. And to this day, there are still brothers around who know her and me from back when I joined, who like her a lot more than they like me.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Very fair. So you mentioned that you were in a fraternity.
Yes.
So I wonder, what did you notice as one of the major differences? So I'm
No keg stands.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
I'm alluding to.
We're not that young of a lodge.
Right.
Those are Wednesday nights.
Yeah, that's not a lodge.
It's a hip
function.
breaker.
Yeah,
It's a hip breaker.
That's the jet set crew that does that. I'm alluding to the brotherhood aspect of Masonry compared to the Greek fraternity.
Yeah, like the conversations you had with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of times when I was speaking to my older brother Lance, it was about a lot of the symbolism. So, for instance, in Greek fraternity, the number 3 is really big. Greek fraternities and sororities
They're all
have-
3 letters.
Have 3 letters, 3 Greek letters. The number 3 is big in Masonic symbolism.
Symbology.
Means some stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
You mean
Kevin-
Symbology is correct.
symbology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin, you're also a member of a fraternity that is
fraternity.
very
Yes.
connected to Masonry. Like I believe the founder was a Mason, wasn't he?
Lambda,
I believe so. At least a few of them. Yes.
Okay.
Lamar. Sorry. But like if you're talking not necessarily about how a lot of Greek fraternities fashioned themselves off of the Masonic styling.
Well, I
which
was
they
thinking
do,
like, well,
but brotherhood alone, there's always someone who has your back.
right,
There's always a friendly ear.
right,
There's always someone who you're having a bad night and you just need to get away and you want to call someone up and say, listen, I need to go out. There's always someone there to do that too. It's basically, and I know that my Greek fraternity has a nationwide presence, but one of the differences that I'd have to say is that as a Greek fraternity in college, I felt we were disconnected from our nationwide chapter.
right.
like
Yeah,
our
because you only
headquarters
see
chapter.
your local people.
You see them once a year, and
yeah.
basically they're coming in telling you what you're doing wrong,
Right.
and telling you how you need to have more insurance and have more
Right.
brothers. And we're like, thanks.
Thanks, super.
And in New Jersey, because of the fact that, at least in the Masons, there's no nationwide Masonic chapter or anything like that. There's each state has its own Grand Lodge. It's a little more connectivity. And there's a lot more things going on the Grand Lodge level that local lodge can get invited to. In the Greek fraternity,
Get involved in. Forget invited,
Invited
to.
in
Just
as well,
like,
involved.
actually do stuff.
yeah, in the Greek fraternity, there was the annual convention,
Yeah.
and then there was maybe a couple of seminars, or there was a visitor from the Grand Lodge was coming to a nearby chapter that you could drive 2 hours to go see, or things like that.
Right.
But for the local chapter, I lived in the fraternity house for a year and a half, 2 different houses for a year and a half, and it was just nice to be around brothers, and it was nice to be around guys that and it was all walks of life. There was a lot of architects and engineers in my fraternity. We had a couple of ROTC guys, ROTC guys.
Really, Syracuse has an RTC
Yep.
program?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. And we had educators and music majors, and we had guys who played in the Syracuse marching band.
That's
and
very
things
cool.
like that. So you kind of got involved with a lot of different stuff on campus because you
You knew somebody.
knew somebody, or like someone was going, hey, I'm going over to the Dome to practice for the upcoming game. You want to come and hang out? And you're like, well, I've never been to the Dome off hours, and you get to go and you get to sit in the stands and you get to listen to the marching band practice. And being a marching band geek from high school was kind of nice to do. And yeah, exactly. And we had right.
We're just gonna gloss over
ignoring the big elephant in the room. Yeah.
No comment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that
king.
resonates with a lot of other marching band teachers
But-
currently.
That's right.
They call me
But-
Cotter the Gray.
That's right.
But I mean, and inside the house too, we had guys who played D&D, and we would have like a Thursday night game night where we'd sit down, we'd play
No, I miss those days.
4 hours of Risk or Axis and Allies, or
Settlers
Settlers
of
of
Catan, I was waiting for that.
things like that. And I mean,
You say D&D, the next thing is Settlers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was just, as an architecture student, I had 5 years worth of school.
Right.
I saw classes go.
People come and go.
People come and go from my fraternity. I got to become. I started as a neophyte and someone who wasn't sure and was very cautious and just very concerned. And I got to be someone who's looked up to as an older brother and who became a mentor. And that was a very interesting thing for a college student to go through. But it was a nice feeling, and it was nice to have a home on campus.
Right.
A lot of people go to college and it's they live in a dorm or in a house, and they have like their small group of friends. I met so many people through the
living in the
fraternity, and I had so many opportunities through the fraternity too. I held 3 different jobs because of connections to the fraternity during college.
Oh, that's
and,
great. Yeah.
2 at the bar and 1 through the university, and
That's great.
And it was a nice thing to have that basis. And here, fast forward to '05 and beyond. It's that same kind of home feeling. It's a place to go where it's cheers. Everybody knows your name. They like your wife more than they like you, and it's nice to have a group of guys that I know that I can reach out to for help on any subject. I need to lift somewhere. I need someone to help me lift something. I need to get something off my chest. I need to run something by somebody who has a better understanding of the topic than I do. There's a plethora of different people to reach out to, and I think that's what the similarities between the two. But we're a bit more adult now, and I joke, but we don't do any keg stands.
No, we really don't. No.
So actually, I'm going to interrupt Billy, and I have 2 comments of my own.
Shoot.
The first,
you only get one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's it. I'm out. The first, going on the joke of they like your wives better than they like you. The last, well, there's 4 of us, correct, that have wives that have name badges now.
Yeah.
One of the things, at least with our lodge, and most of the lodges in the jurisdiction of New Jersey, after you become a Master Mason, you get a name badge with your full name, however you want it typed out, and the lodge you belong to. The joke that has happened is for myself and the previous 2 Worshipful Masters and Adam, our wives all have name badges with a subtitle.
An honorific.
Yes, that's very good.
Adam's in charge of the name badges. So.
Yes. Well, I mean,
But it
secretary.
makes
So,
Right, but I don't do it in a void. I ask
No,
for
yeah,
input.
there,
I ask
yes.
for-
This is my idea completely.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
no.
should.
So Adam's is Tara, his wife. Hers is the secretary's wife.
Secretary's wife,
Which he has explained to me that before the age of emails, or the prevalence, I should say,
Yes.
of emails, he was physically mailing copies of trestle boards and
we would sit down at the coffee table and we would watch TV. I think it was at that time it was America's Got Talent, and we would fold, stuff, seal, and stamp.
I remember
150 something
when
trestle
I
boards.
started in the lodge, that was one of the first things you made me do
Yeah.
is fold trestle boards.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I never had to do that.
She was my administrative assistant.
Yes.
She would write emails in the car for me. She still does, like things like that.
Here, I will dictate.
Yeah.
Yes. We have Brother Ken Long, who was on a previous episode. His wife is the First Lady of the Lodge.
Floatal.
Yes, Floatal, Christine. On our first episode, Brother Peter, his wife, is Raging River.
Raging River.
Yes, because sometimes it could be an emotion, and sometimes it can be literal.
Yeah, exactly.
And my wife is HBIC.
Yeah.
Head basic in charge.
No, not basic.
No, she's basic.
She's basic, and she admits it.
Yeah.
She admits it. No. It's a matter of pride for her.
I'm not
You wait
saying-
until the pumpkin spice starts flowing.
Nope.
Listen, Rook just came out with a strawberry cold brew, and she is all over it.
Are you calling
I know
me?
in medieval times they called them witches, but
Right.
And I'm hoping to see that trend continue.
Yeah.
I'd like to see.
I mean, it's kind of. I mean,
I
it's,
know
it's
mine.
kind of nice. It
For mine.
wait, does she know what it is, or do you know?
Oh,
what it is?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
she knows what it is. Yeah.
All right. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's just another way to involve our ladies
Mm-hmm.
in what we do, and just make them part of the family.
Yeah.
you
There
know?
definitely is a Masonic wives club.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not officially,
But there is.
just through
Yeah.
everything we do. Yeah.
Right.
And the second one is kind of I'm cutting Billy off for this question. You, Adam,
Yes.
are a stickler for protocol, whether it be ritual protocol or protocol in general. Being the secretary, you've caught the ear of many of us in the chairs, in the officer chairs, and told us like this is how the way it's supposed to go through to the proper channels and whatnot. And also you're a big defender of the lodge in general, just the property, the solemnity of it, all these various things. And I know you have anal retentive.
You're making me blush. Go
I
on.
know I know you have anal retentive.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, because you and I battle over them because mine
I
are
couldn't
different.
have this job if I didn't.
Right. It's true.
So I understand that that's part of it, but I think I want to know is the other part the fact that you were a worshipful master twice in Asbury, Jordan, and you watched that lodge fold. And I don't mean that in
No,
like
I
a
understand.
negative
Yeah,
way.
I understand what you're asking. The lodge was on its decline when I joined. It wasn't like I joined and it was the beginning of the end. I wasn't the catalyst.
tanked
Yeah, I
Damn new guys!
Yeah.
Way to go, Anchor.
yeah, I didn't bring about Ragnarok. You know, it wasn't me personally.
Let's land this bird.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just that I take a lot of pride in our lodge and the brothers that I love dearly. And it's one of those things where we always comment how we try to set the bar high.
Oh yeah.
And we try to set an example. And I think that kind of has resonated with me over the years, where I I hear a man you can get things.
Cheeseburgers.
Rita. But no, it's one of those things where when you love something, you want to make sure that it
Well, sometimes I'd wish you let it free.
well,
No, I agree with Adam. I mean,
Yes.
I kind of fell in love with the lodge too, like that. And I'm a little bit. I mean, I'm not on the administrative side of it, but I'm a little defensive.
And here's the other thing,
stuff
too.
like that.
And this is probably going to go into topics later on this evening, but worship masters come and go, but typically secretaries stay.
Oh yes.
So,
Yep.
so while a worship master may have grandiose ideas and have a lot of ideas for the lodge and whatnot, for all intents and purposes, when their year is done,
That's it.
those ideas may not carry through.
Mm-hmm.
But what they implement potentially has to by the secretary,
Right.
or the secretary has to assist in
The incoming
worship master in understanding. Look, the boat's going to go forward, and every worship master that you have is going to take the wheel and go a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right and ride the waves. In my opinion, it's the secretary's job to just make sure that
it stays on course.
stays on course. Kind of create an even keel, if you will, and not in guidance, guidance and support. And so you and I have talked a lot about things that you want to do, and I'm like, well, maybe you should roll it back a little bit, start baby steps and things like that. The difficult thing is that a worship master is only in the chair running the lodge for 1 year.
Yeah.
And you can get caught up on wanting to do a lot of stuff. And every worship master that I've had the pleasure of working with,
You definitely become the work wife to the
right.
secretary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very disappointing at the end.
Whore.
Yeah, I start getting phone calls like weeks before, and they're like daily phone calls. And then as the year goes on, they get less and less and less and less.
Every year it's bittersweet. You start this relationship and you know it's going to end. It's doomed from the start.
I know. No, but it's one of those things where there's a lot to do in a year, and you have to kind of pick your battles or pick your achievements. And I said to Andrew, and the same thing I've said to other worship masters that I've had the pleasure to work with, make a list of like 5 things you want to do in your year. Mm-hmm. And if you get one of them done correctly, you've had a successful year.
Right.
Because things happen. The immediate past master, Peter, he had a whole bunch of aspirations for the year. His goal for the year was to get out in the community and to get involved.
We discussed that. We discussed
right.
that with him.
And then
the world.
COVID-19 happened.
The world
and it threw everything for a loop, and he still managed to keep
it together,
something done. He was able to build and install a free little library, and he was able to assist with Toys for Tots, and those were like big achievements.
We as a lodge kind of spearheaded the Zoom meetings within our district.
Yeah,
and,
we really
made it
kept us together.
While it wasn't a meeting in the respect of being tiled.
No.
Being tiled means that it's an actual closed meeting for those who are not Masons. But there was still the element of a meeting there. There was still presentations.
We were together as opposed to being locked inside.
So, yes, I do realize that at times my views of how things should run are a bit stranglehold.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But at the same time, I'm willing to listen to the other side of the argument, and I'm not sticking the mud, this is how it's been done for 100 years, and this is how it shall always be done.
I don't mean it that way. It's like I said, you are anal retentive.
Yeah.
You got that little bit of OCD, but all of us do, especially when it comes to whatever.
And the other thing,
get that taken care of.
Yeah.
But it's also a reflection of the membership of the lodge.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So like anybody, at least in our membership, if they go to Adam for a question, they can probably expect what the answer would be,
or a direction as to find it.
I mean I mean that with love.
Thank you.
But it's,
the direction is goes true.
It's one of those things where it's like there has to be consistency somewhere.
Yeah.
Because there is a continuum of leadership. It's the reason we have a progressive line. It's the reason that people move up through the chairs and ask questions and observe. It's the reason we give people the opportunity to sit in chairs ahead and learn and, serve on committees.
Right.
But really, I mean, if if you take a step back and you look at it, you're like, oh, well, the treasurer and the secretary are the ones that don't really
we're the
change
business
hands.
side. We're the business side.
The actual legitimate business of it.
Yeah.
Even though the CEO
It's
may
great.
change, the secretary's still there.
It's great. I mean,
Chained to the
when
desk.
when it works
Cable
great.
tied.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it does.
When it works great.
Yeah, there's plenty of horrible secretaries. There's, like I've said before, you can go on Reddit. You can find our subreddit, our Freemasonry, and you can hear stories of people about how their secretaries or various other members that have been cornerstones of their lodge have not done it right for X number of years.
But I mean, a lot of it comes from training too, because if you're taking over for another secretary, he teaches you how to do your job, and that's the way you learn. And when you get into a rhythm of something that it works, whether it works right or whether it works wrong, if it works, it works. You're kind of stuck with that. And at the same time too, recently we've come into a much more technological age and are relying a lot more on computers. And a lot of times, secretaries and treasurers are older brothers who have been past masters, who have been in this job for many years. And not that they are reluctant to change, but the technology may escape them a little bit, and it's a much more difficult thing to evolve to. Yeah. And I'm a tech geek. I go with the flow. I'm a big proponent of making my job easier, which makes the lodge's job easier, which makes the district's job. It just makes it a lot easier. So you want to tell me that we're learning a new membership program? By all means, I'll run it through its paces and make sure that it works.
Our lodge has been one of the beta testers.
We
so
were a
to
beta
speak,
tester, yeah.
For what was it?
For
not
Grandview.
For Grandview,
yeah.
I remember a couple times where you and I and Peter and I believe someone else were setting up like this is how we're running it. We were getting brothers inputted into the system and whatnot. And
but not everybody's open to that.
Oh no, there's
something else I got to learn. Something else I have to take care of. It just adds to my pile of work. And the other thing about it too is that there are a lot of secretaries who don't stay on top of the work. Yeah. And it works for them, but it becomes there's a backlog.
There's a burden.
So when I joined, when I was asked to be secretary. In 2015.
No. It's just
just the 05s? Okay.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Kevin and I are going to sleep.
In
2015.
Are you gonna eat that maggot? In 2015, when I joined, someone said to me, "You're gonna be spending hours doing the secretary's work," and I was like, "Okay." And I realize now that they spend hours doing it because they wait until like Sunday nights, or they wait until like Tuesday nights.
Oh, and they
the
just
night
do
before a
everything.
Meeting, and they do everything all together.
Yeah.
But for me, if I can split up the tasks
keep it
and just keep it, for the most part, maybe 2 hours a week, 3 hours at the most. And there's a couple of times during the year where the work is a little bit heavier when there's reporting to be done or things like that.
But if you keep up with it, it's not awful.
But you also have the due diligence to distribute the work, for non-payment of dues at the end of the year. Unfortunately, just like with any other organization, there's members that didn't pay their dues, and they have until X amount of time to do so. So around, at least for us, around what'd you say, like beginning of November, October, we get a list of all these individuals that have not yet paid, and we start making phone calls.
To be very honest, I can do that myself.
Oh, no. I know you can.
Let me explain. I can do that myself. However, I've come to realize that brothers are tired of hearing my voice, or seeing my emails,
and it's not fair for you to always be the bad guy too.
I understand that, but it's brothers react to different brothers differently, and that's very redundant.
Oh, yeah, we've definitely taken bids this guy's on there, I'll call him.
Right.
Because I know he and I have a different relationship.
I have a relationship with a lot of guys, but the majority of the relationship is business sense, But you may know somebody who was your friend, who was, you were raised with that person, and unfortunately you haven't seen them in a while, and so you have a different connection than I do, and the conversation that you have with them is going to be completely different than I have with them.
Yeah, there's a different connotation.
Right.
Yeah. Completely.
And so,
even though it's the same message.
So I can certainly go through the process and do everything myself, but I know that enlisting brothers helps. First of all, yes, it does lighten the workload a little bit, but it also means that it's a different face, it's a different voice, it's a different connection. And in this organization where we are all about connection, just that slight difference may make the difference between somebody who, I've said difference too many times in this statement, but yes, can make the difference between somebody deciding that they want to stay active or someone deciding that, I'm tired of being bothered, I'm just done. And,
So there.
right.
I only got one other question, and that would be, so you were just recently within, what, a year, 2 years, city council?
I am in my second of 3-year term.
So 2 years. So 2 years ago, you were elected city
2
council
Januaries,
in our wonderful Freehold borough. What, as secretary of the lodge, what do you think most helped you prepare for that role once you got into it?
Yeah, having a
His
very,
wife.
No.
having a very wonderful administrative assistant.
I said as secretary, not as Adam.
As Tara's husband.
Yeah.
As Tara's husband, what was your biggest asset?
You guys gonna have her on next week? Is this the
no, it's just gonna be the wives. So
yeah.
maybe,
I'm not coming.
Is this the newlywed game? No, a lot of it is public speaking, not being afraid to approach somebody and have a conversation with them. It's shaking hands and kissing babies, or flip it, whichever way you want to think of it. I'm just kidding.
Don't shake babies.
No
please.
shaking babies.
Please, nobody shake a baby.
It's basically just a lot of times when someone comes into the lodge, the first person they have a communication with is the secretary. They're reaching out for information on joining the fraternity. In our case, my digital contact information is the point of contact for the lodge. So if someone wants to join the fraternity, they literally reach out to me
funneled to
first.
you. Yeah.
You're the mouth.
And so I have to be able to have an initial conversation with that person, and I got to be able to make an impression on that person right off the
The
bat.
elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch, right? The 5-cent tour, whatever you want to call it.
Better
And
man
using
than
that idea of not being afraid to talk to someone. Tara can't stand when we go to public places because I'll talk to everybody.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And
Especially during your election night.
Especially during
she
election-
was sitting
oh,
there
yeah.
like, I want to go home.
yeah, but and it's one of those things where, and we joke, but when you're a Mason, there's 2 different goodbyes. There's
Right.
the Masonic goodbye,
Right.
and then there's I'm actually in the car goodbye.
Right. Right there. Now we're
Or there's the Irish
we're all
goodbye.
pointing at
Yeah.
No, it's called a ninja.
the ninja. Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
And my Masonic goodbye has melded into my personal life and my political life as well. And so I'd have to say that, like, being able to speak to people, having frank conversations with them, listening to them and understanding what they're looking for, being able to provide support and guidance, and helping out. And also, if someone asks me to do something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I may not be able to get the answer that you want,
But
and if I don't know the
I'll
answer,
try.
I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to let you know who else you should talk to about it. But if someone comes up to me, personal, political, Masonic, and they ask me a question, if I don't know the answer off the bat, I will do my darndest to find that answer, or at least to find them the direction to go, to point them to get a better resolution to the issue. And I think that helps in all 3 realms.
So like a social interaction upgrade, basically.
Yeah. Social interaction 2.0.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was great. Do you guys have any questions that I didn't ask? Anything you need to get into?
That's great, man.
Oh, okay.
No, it's great.
All right.
It's funny that we talk about fraternity and whatnot on this show, obviously, because it's a Masonic show, and there's a lot of brotherhood. And one of the jokes or not even a joke, one of the guidelines I was told, which is one of the reasons I laughed so hard when Adam said that he was invited to the Tall Cedars and then the Scottish Rite and everything, is don't out-Mason yourself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a ton of appendant bodies or other groups, for those who don't understand the
Language.
thank you, that you can
words.
join. There's words.
This episode of the Extended Branch is
Brought to you by the letter what?
By the dictionary. By the dictionary.
But yeah, there's a ton of other groups that you can join simply because you are now a Mason. Like last week, I said I was elected
Shriners.
be a Shriner. I'm
Right.
also part of the York Rite. Kevin and I are Knight Templars. You know, Adam is a member of the Scottish Rite, so he's the mystical Mason with the 32 after his name.
Yeah, it's me.
So
fancy.
things like that, and then there's all kinds of other groups, but you start to see that there's fraternities everywhere. Adam and I were invited to join. I'm gonna screw this name up because I mess up the order. The Grand Ancient Order of Froth Blowers. Is that
Yes, I believe that's the order.
Is that a beer drinkers club?
so? All right, Adam, go ahead.
All right. Yes and no.
It's a yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ming.
Yeah. So, all right. So here's the thing.
Fantastic.
This was started, and I believe it was started in Australia many, many, many years ago, and went by the wayside.
Blow the froth off a cold one.
Correct.
Isn't it?
But
Yeah.
here's the thing. A group of guys got together, and they would go out to the pub and get a drink. And they would buy 2 drinks and only receive 1. And the money that was spent would go to, like, a local charity.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So this idea expanded where it's a very much a pay it forward sort of idea, where you get a whole bunch of guys together to go out and have a drink, and you buy
a full night's worth of rounds twice, basically.
right,
Yeah.
and that money goes to a local charity.
That's very
so what happened was there's been a recent resurgence because, and I don't know if it was related to COVID-19 or if this started beforehand, but it's come back across the Great Wide Ocean, and it's being seen as they're trying to energize this idea of local charity.
That's very cool.
And so
I really-
there's
I
a brother
kinda
in
like
South Jersey. Well, you don't drink, so you're not.
No, but I still like the idea
Yeah.
of it. I mean, it's going in
Right,
a good place.
and it basically it was yeah.
It looks like it was London, not
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it actually took off big in Australia, but it probably like
started
everything
in
else
London.
started in London. But
Pastime of froth blowing.
yeah,
Yeah, so
But-
that there's a whole initiation ceremony and everything.
And here's the funny thing. So now on social media, aside from talking about the money that you've raised for charity and whatnot, the members take pictures of
The beers.
with a lot of foamy head.
Yeah, like
And
that's
it's
that's
like a sense of pride sort of
yeah,
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
So I have a friend and a brother who is not a member of this organization, but who we share a lot of beers, and I always do the hard pour, and he makes fun of me all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna take a picture of this one and put it up online?" And I'm like, "Of course I am. You know I am." But I mean, but at the same time, it was something else to get involved with. It's nice to have this other organization who. All the organizations I've ever been involved with have some sort of aspect of charity.
Yeah.
There's a social aspect to it, and there's a charitable aspect to it. And a lot of times, there have been organizations that I've left because the charitable aspect has dropped off.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, I don't.
That's not what you were
I've got a
there
busy enough
for.
schedule as it is. If there's not a meeting behind this,
I'm out.
Dedicate
Yeah.
my time to something else. But yeah, so
we have that, and then also another thing that I invited Adam to, which this one doesn't cost him any money except for when he wants to spend it, is the Whiskey Tribe.
Yeah.
The Whiskey Tribe was started by 2 gentlemen in Texas, Daniel Whittington and Rex Williams, who there's their smiling faces.
Oh, you sent me a video.
Yeah,
of those
yeah,
guys.
yeah. They started on YouTube. Daniel is, as he calls himself, the head sommelier in a place called the Whiskey Academy in Texas, which pretty much teaches you how to sell whiskey, not make it, but like be a salesperson for a whiskey company, understanding the different flavors and how to approach it and how to explain those flavors to someone else. And Rex is affectionately known as the Whiskey Mooch because he's just there. He's the back end of the program. He's the guy who does the video editing and the online aspect of their stuff.
But they have a very interesting business model.
Yes.
The distillery that they're a part of is a
Sourced
and funded.
Oh,
distillery.
yeah.
So what do they put out recipes and then you
No. So they started a Patreon because the school was there before. The Whiskey Academy was there before. So they already had some kind of income there.
Okay.
But the crowdsourcing came because they finally decided, no, we're going to make our own stuff.
Right.
So they opened up a Patreon, and at that time they had a couple thousand followers that chose whatever the tier was for Patreon, and that money went toward the building and toward buying the
They want to get into the
supplies.
distillery. The
Yeah.
crowdsourcing helps determine what size of distillery they're going to get.
Yeah, you are completely involved. It's almost like the Green Bay Packers. You are.
So is it like a pop-up distillery?
No.
No. It's
They-
it's in Texas. It's staying there.
So it's open
But they
now.
Yes.
they look for they open the they're open for opinions from their members on
Right.
what to produce,
Okay.
how to prepare next.
So what are you still giving them money for? Just so they can stay open?
No.
They also do
they've-
a lot of, they also do a lot of charity.
That's what I'm saying. They've gotten to the point now
Mm-hmm.
where they can now start putting money toward charity stuff.
Okay.
So they have so if you are a member of the Whiskey Tribe, you become a magnificent bastard.
Okay. What do you buy? What's the rub? What are you giving the money for?
So Patreon is
what do
a
you
sub-
get back? I understand what Patreon
Okay,
is. It's a
so-
subscription
So
service,
depending on which tier Patreon you get,
Mm-hmm.
if you're above base level, which actually is not open yet because there's so many people that signed up, you get challenge coins every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
You get first dibs on any new releases that come out.
Okay.
Discounts on merch, things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
This episode sponsored by. No, sorry.
Hey Rex, Daniel, if you want to give us anything, we're
But,
here.
but here's the other thing too behind it.
Yes.
Aside from the business model, aside from the fact that they're crowdsourced,
Right.
they have a Facebook page and you go on it. This has become a huge support group.
It is.
Okay.
That's the other aspect, and that you don't have to pay for. Adam is not a member of the Patreon, but he is, as they say, a magnificent bastard because he's still part of the tribe.
But the
He's a magnificent free
social
bastard.
the social aspect of it is that it's become a big support group. For instance, there's a lot of people.
in regards to what support for
Just
what?
listen.
Okay. Go ahead. I mean, because
I'm saying- So
I'm
for
literally
instance,
coming from a person who has no
I
idea what this is.
totally
but
understand.
I'm still confused what you get for this.
A lot of it is, raise a glass to my father who passed away from COVID recently.
Okay,
and
so
there
that's
are-
just you're online. You go on Facebook, and
Exactly.
there's a post that says "Raise a glass to my father,"
And
you
it's
raise a glass. and
just-
people will
it's-
say like, "So sorry for your
Oh
loss."
yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's-
And these are people all over the place, just like
And that-
Masonry.
and that you can just go on and do. Like
You
can
can.
you
just-
don't
Oh,
have to
absolutely.
pay them.
No,
Okay.
absolutely. You can go on and do it, but it's something where a group of guys have taken a small thing and made it much bigger and involved so many people, and it's just nice to go through and see like these support groups,
All right.
and it reminds steering the conversation back.
Yes,
to Masonry.
yes.
It reminds me of a Masonic lodge where
Oh,
you
yeah,
can walk up
absolutely.
to someone and say, I've had a really bad day. Something happened, and they'll go, "Well, come sit down with me and talk."
Yeah.
and,
Oh,
and
100%. I can
offer
see
their
that now,
empathy
yeah.
and their sympathy.
Yeah,
And
it's a different connection because with Masonry we went through the degrees and everything else.
I mean, there's no real fraternal connection between the
Yeah, the
Masonic
whiskey
tribe.
tribe.
It's
Yeah.
it's
But-
just people being nice to each other,
Right,
basically.
but
Yeah.
but it's one of these things
When we
where
need it,
I think that the idea is that what Aaron was going with that is that you get involved with so many different things through life,
Right.
And that somehow there's always a thread tied back together
Yes.
with your beliefs.
Oh,
There's a
and-
tribe. There's a
Right.
legitimate
It's
tribe.
a family,
pretty cool.
and everything that we join becomes family.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things where I think we as Masons, that's what we look for. We look for extensions of our family.
Okay.
We as humans,
We do.
honestly, we as humans look for a tribe in general.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the big callings of Masonry is that, we put the elevator pitch out there of like we make good men better and this, that, and the other thing. But it really takes you, the individual, that first step to this guy, to take that step into a lodge somewhere and find out whether A, the entire idea is for you, if this melds well with your personal beliefs, and then B, if this specific lodge is for you. Because
Right.
there's plenty of times that you could walk into a lodge and be like, I don't like anyone here. They just have a bad representation of
Right, yeah.
Vibe,
yeah.
whatever.
And that's like going back to the Freemasonry on Reddit thing. That's one of the big comments is, especially in the larger states where there's so many more lodges, don't always pick a lodge that's close to you
Right.
because
It may
you
not
may
be the
walk
one.
in and hate it.
Right.
Go to a lodge that's maybe a half hour away or an hour away and see what the
Test the waters.
Yeah.
Make sure it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
if you're
right,
gonna- yeah.
because you can't zoom in and think that this lodge is Masonry.
Right.
And here's the other thing too. So the lodge that I joined back in '05. The lodge that I joined.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct
Okay.
usage, thank
Are we still okay
Yeah.
with that usage, Kevin?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, good.
Hi, Kevin. Hi.
The lodge that I joined back in 2005, once I joined that lodge, I then found out that our lodge was active, and I fell in with the crowd at our lodge as well. And I would
Right.
this lodge was 6 blocks from my house. My
More
mother lodge
convenient,
was
yeah.
25 minutes from my house. It was a big difference, and I would try to visit as often as possible. And someone once asked me that said, if you knew that our lodge was active, would you have petitioned our lodge? And my answer was no. And they said, well, why not? It's 6 blocks from your house. You're good with the guys.
Well, I went to Asbury,
But
Jordan.
no, my answer was no, because my experience was my experience, and my experience is what led me to where I am today. And not that experience or that path would have been unsuccessful or have been, but I think that because of the where I joined and what I joined, I got the information and the knowledge that allowed me to progress through and become where I am today, where I am. One half of the business aspects of, the majority of the business aspects of the lodge, where I'm appreciative that brothers can come to me and ask me questions for honest opinions and sarcastic opinions, and it's just all part of the path I took, and it's one of those things where I'm a firm believer that every decision that you make branches off your reality, and you're sometimes they loop back and sometimes they reconnect and whatnot.
All right, Ant-Man.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But each path is its own experience, and not knowing what the other experience is, would you really want to take that? Knowing where you are now.
Well, you know where you are, or
Right.
you can pick the unknown, and
Right. And it's interesting because I took my sister back to New York City today, and we were talking in the car about how she was. And I cannot remember who she was talking about, but the person spoke about how some people talk about good and bad decisions. I remember the company she worked for had somebody come in who was a poker player, world champion poker player, Anna. I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, it's fine.
But she started off the seminar by saying, she said to the people in the crowd or in the audience, what was your best decision during this quarantine time, and what was your worst decision? And she said, now think of it this way. Your best decision doesn't always have the best outcome. It could have the worst outcome, but it could be a learning experience. And your worst decision could have the best outcome, and that also is a learning experience. So it's not necessarily whether the decision was your best or worst decision. It's whether or not you learned by what happened when you made that decision.
Yeah.
And I think the knowing of the part of the knowing of what your decision is a lot more comforting than the void of not knowing the outcome of your decision.
Very true.
So that's, I think, why I wouldn't go back and redo this. It's because I know where I am today. I know what brought me here. I know what this fraternity has done for me personally, for my family. My youngest, Braden's godparents are a Masonic brother and his wife, who we fell in with when I joined a lodge, and then when I joined Asbury Jordan, and then when my wife moved down here. And I don't know if that would have been the same if I had, gone backwards and, done it over again differently. So.
Fair.
So I think we need to knock on the door of the craft store and see what
think it's
Brother
time for the
Cotter
store.
has brewing for us in his cauldron.
Yeah, so I have a few things tonight, and I kind of, I'm thinking, if anybody's following this, I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 episodes ahead of taking a gigantic topic and just kind of, introducing it and then trying to analyze it, play with it a little bit.
It's gonna, definitely foreshadowing here.
That's very cool.
So, we have kicked around a term in almost every episode without really talking about it. So I just a real surface level explanation from each of us, I think, is what I'm looking for. So if I say the word esoteric to you, or esotericism, or something like that, unless you come to Freemasonry looking for that experience, specifically by name, it has to be introduced to you. And I'm kind of curious how you would describe it to somebody else, and anything that might be meaningful to you. Not that we would go into a huge discussion this evening,
Because it's a very deep hole.
It's
Oh, yeah,
gigantic.
absolutely.
It's a very deep hole.
But I think it's something that unless you come to Freemasonry looking for that in particular, it's something that I would say a fair amount of brothers pick up along the way, rather than have it be a priority. So I'm happy to start, but if
I don't
if
think you should
anybody-
start. 'Cause I
Okay.
think you have the best handle on what that is.
Yeah, you do.
And I
out
think
of,
that-
out of
and
the
I-
four of us,
and I think that-
disagree, but
Well,
thank
well,
you. That's
we
very
we
nice.
disagree with your disagreeing. But I think that your opinion might skew
All right, so
our responses.
Adam, you
Then I
start.
will
Go
shut
ahead.
up.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm starting.
You opened your mouth. You
so
gotta
yeah,
go.
so
Yeah.
I didn't join the Freemasons for the esotericism. I joined for the social aspect because, like I said, I missed those conversations. If I would have to kind of, I guess, sum up,
Define it for you.
define it for me in a couple
Yeah.
words, the mysticism, the tie that binds, the more heady topics, the topics that require you to do a little research to answer, the topics that are near and dear to one's heart, because in my opinion, it's very hard to talk about esoteric topics without having a love for that topic. The topics that and the conversations that very, very easily fall into black holes, and you can start, going down the rabbit's
Yes,
hole,
and you never come
you
back.
never come back. And the topics where, after having a conversation with someone about it or giving a presentation about such a topic or such a discussion, the listener pauses for a second, and it hits something. It tunes into something inside them, because, like you said, we don't all come to the fraternity looking for that, but eventually it becomes part of us. And I think that when someone talks about esoteric conversations or esoteric topics, it's like a tuning fork that resonates with them. And I think it's one of those things where, and you've done this a lot, you give a lot of presentations to our lodge and other lodges, and at the end of the presentation, assuming that I'm not typing up notes or anything like that while it's going on, and I do apologize, but it's one of those things where you have to sit back and you kind of lean back in the chair a little bit and you cross your arms and you go,
Yeah,
And it
that's
makes you
why we
pause.
never directly
and it
ask
makes
you
you pause,
questions.
and it's something where you have to digest. It's not a conversation where you can just take it and be like, okay, I'm good with that. It's a conversation or a topic or a subject where you have to digest the information.
Right.
So I believe that, quite literally, it's hidden knowledge.
Right.
Through quite literally, esotericism is hidden knowledge, be it by pictures or allegory or juxtaposition of words, anything like that. It's an undertow in things. And Adam, to your point, yes, I believe it is as you said, a tuning fork where some things you'll just gloss over as a person because it just doesn't make sense to you. You're too cynical. You don't believe in spirituality, kind of things like that. But then there's other points like, yeah, I did notice that. They were talking about that back in the Greek days and the Egyptian days. How do they know that thing? Why does this still make sense? Things like that. That's what I take away from esotericism, where it's, thousands of years old and we're still doing the same thing. Obviously at a better understanding of it, but at its base is still the same.
Who says we have a better understanding of it?
Well,
You
sometimes
say
we don't.
You
Sometimes
say we have
we
a
don't.
better understanding of it. So, to come to me for esoteric. So this is what I think of anything that's esoteric. It's not necessarily Masonic. It's not necessarily. It could be. You could take an idea.
No, we definitely try and take ownership
All right,
of it, though.
So you can take an idea. So take a tree. Tree is an idea, right? The word tree is an idea.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes.
Understood?
Yes.
So that is what I think of being esoteric. You take something, you think of it allegorically, you break it down intellectually, and then you come out with a different understanding of the thing that you already have an
Philosophy.
understanding. It's like philosophy, but it's also a different way to look at
Right.
At a very general, basic
Yes.
idea.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you go as deep as you feel you need to go into that. Like, if you want to go into the tree, let's look at it. It's been around time. So tree represents time on the earth, time that man has walked, the time that of the seasons, and then you can go. Right, and then the leaves, they grow every year, so that's the birth cycle. So you have man grows and he goes through his processes, and at the end of the season, the end of the season of man, then you have the leaves that fall and die.
Yes. So you can you can make the similarities and the allegory
Yeah.
to from a life of a tree to the overall passage of time.
And that's what I think of as esoteric, because it's not necessary. And again, you can take it with anything. Like I said, you can take anything. You can take Shakespeare, for instance, and you can
It's the lens.
you
It's the
can
lens that you're looking at
dissect
it.
Yeah.
what he has said to the nth degree. But
Oh, absolutely.
honestly, I don't think anyone would be wrong. I mean, it's
there
all about
there definitely is an air of
it's
of-
what you think of it. You know.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. You can disagree,
Yeah.
but there's no wrong.
It's personal
No.
interpretation.
Yeah, and that's what makes it esoteric. It's you.
But- and
you
here's the
are
other
the
thing,
one
too.
doing it. Yeah.
Hold on, we're digging this hole.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
we,
no, no,
we
no, no,
started
no,
it. Yeah, we started it.
No, I'm
Quick,
not going
quick.
that.
Yeah.
Fill in. But it's also how it's presented.
Yeah.
The way that Brother Kevin does a presentation is going to be a lot different than I do it, or you do it, or Andrew, you do it.
Oh, my first presentation on anything esoteric was horrible.
Right. I
spirit-
didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it
No,
that way.
I'll admit it. It was horrible.
But
It
here's
was
the other
not.
thing too. Here's the other thing too
good.
is that the way it's presented also leads to how one
Thinks of it.
how thinks of it, how much it resonates. When Kevin presents, you feel like he should have a leather-bound tome in front of
he
him,
does.
and come sit.
He's got the Necrocomicon in
Listen
front
to
of him,
me
like
as
it's-
I speak to you. And to be honest with you, he's not wrong. When Kevin presents, we sit down and we listen.
Oh my God!
it's-
every
it-
word.
yeah.
Hung
Crisscross
on every
applesauce.
word,
When like yeah. When
Kevin's talking.
When I present, all people hear are, "Oh man, I got to pay my dues. I forgot to pay my dues. He's gonna ask me about my dues, isn't he? You know."
Or he's going to talk about Grand Lodge stuff.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things where it's like your love of the subject and the lens that you look it through, because the way that you're talking about the tree and whatnot, if you're going to talk to someone, any of us, about how you look at the tree, you have to teach us how to look through
How
your
to
lens.
look at the tree? Yeah.
And that's sometimes a very difficult
Play-Doh.
thing to do. And yeah, and
No, but he's not wrong.
And
I mean,
it's
that's
how- it's-
what he did to Aristotle, so
Right,
it,
yeah.
it makes sense.
And some people, the lens is very easy to stand behind. And some people, the lens is very difficult to see through.
Correct.
And it's I think the people who have a much more finer lens, the message doesn't come across the same.
Yeah.
But I think that when you have a nice wide lens for people to stand behind, it's a lot easier for us to come next to you and go, "Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about."
Yeah.
So my
about- yeah.
my reason for asking
Oh well, yeah. What's yours?
is,
What's
is,
your
well, I mean,
definition?
it's probably going to roll out over a few different discussions,
All
but
right.
but I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying, because it is important to acknowledge the fact that just like the people who show up in Freemasonry for charity or for a social a social outlet or whatever it happens to be, there's many different facets of that. And I can tell you that for as many brothers as I could find who can get really amped up and excited about something that would be considered hidden knowledge or esoteric or something unknown, you can find an equal number of people who would be like, I couldn't be bothered. Now,
it doesn't resonate with everybody.
it doesn't resonate with everybody, but when we say, or we're when I'll temper it by saying this: when we are tempted to say that esotericism has nothing to do with Freemasonry, that is fundamentally incorrect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
everything we do is
because everything that we do is symbolic,
Yes.
and all of those symbols come from a library of people who gathered them over time. They considered them.
Literal
they've been-
tomes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
so,
look at our bookcase in the lodge.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to ask this very just sort of cursory level question, because it is important for every brother or anybody who's listening to understand that you can walk in with guns blazing, ready to go into a lodge to talk about, I mean, you could talk about the Egyptians, you could talk about Orpheus, you can talk about, the
Golden ratio.
the symbolism of the human body, the golden ratio, all
that stuff.
all of this stuff, and it's all great, it's all wonderful, every bit of it, and depending upon who's in the lodge either that day or in total, you're going to get a very, very different response. You might get pinned to the wall by people who know tons of stuff about that, or they'll look at you like a witch. May we burn him?
Does he float?
Does he float?
Very small rocks.
Who are you who are wise in the ways of science?
So I know it's late into the episode to sort of wade into heavier
Esoteric
tides.
Yeah.
You're dipping your toes right now.
But what I'll say is I think it's important for us to kind of head in that direction gently. Just to say that it's an aspect of Freemasonry. It is not Freemasonry.
No.
Okay. And that'll play itself out too in many conversations. We all know sitting here, and we don't pretend for any amount of time at all to have an answer of what is Freemasonry. There is no answer to that question, and you can ask any brother, and if they tell you there is an answer, they're lying to you, right? But there's aspects to all these things, and I think something that can feel elitist, that can feel a little bit protected,
Stuffy.
held close to the vest, is this idea of esotericism, because it requires time.
Yeah.
It requires a connection. It requires time sitting at a table, not in a lodge room,
Right.
to present an idea for people to think about it and to kick it around. Like, I appreciate you guys both saying, well, look, we never ask you any questions when you're done talking because you gave us too much to think about. I get that.
Oh, it's not even that you may have given us too much to think about.
But
it's that we have to digest it.
I get that. But as the
We
presenter,
can only chew so fast.
as the presenter, I'm starved for that moment. I'm going, I want somebody to say anything, please, because I've put something out there, and
I've learned that over the years, that I will have a question from earlier on.
Oh, you
in
gotta
the
write notes.
presentation, and
Yeah,
I
you
will
gotta write
hold
it
on
down.
to that just
Yeah.
to the end, just because
I'm sorry.
No,
No, it's
do
not you.
apologize.
Oh, no,
No.
not you in
No.
general.
But it's one of those
yeah.
things where it's like you give, and I'm not to sing your praises, but you give such great presentations.
Thank you.
That I completely understand that when the presentation is done and there's that dead silence, you're panicking. Did they get it? Do they like it? What are they thinking and whatnot? So
Yeah.
I'll try and hold on a question from earlier in the presentation just to kind of help
Thank you.
break up that silence a little bit.
I appreciate that. But that was
Part
my
one,
question
yeah.
for
It's
tonight.
definite foreshadowing because
So now you guys
we'll
know
eventually
where-
have a more heavy episode, and Ming might fall asleep, or whomever our.
We'll have in a few ways. Like, I mean, we'll talk about it, but
Right.
we'll have guests on specifically for that subject.
Yeah.
But you can see just from the way the four of us answered, we all have a different idea of what it is.
And we're
It's-
not wrong. None of us.
And exactly like what
Correct.
we said. So, the three of us plus Adam, if he comes back, it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation because, there's mechanical, there's, intellectual and creative just sitting here, and we all have a little bit of each. So it's great. That was awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
No problem.
With that, I'm about to close.
Hold on, though. So I feel bad because last time
There was no last time. Nope.
Last episode. Sorry, when Brother Moretti was here,
Yes.
he did close-up magic.
Yeah. You don't have to do magic. It's fine.
No, I don't.
It's
But
a hard act to follow.
it is.
Yeah, it really is.
But I have a dad joke.
Okay, let's hear it. All right, that'd be
all right.
well. Hold on, let him close.
Put the gavel down.
Let
Brother
him-
Secretary, is
Yeah.
your desk clear?
Yes, sir.
Not
All right.
yet.
No,
There's
not
No,
yet.
it's not.
No,
I
it's
still see.
not.
I see. Yes.
So let him close and then
So
we'll let you-
I did this to Ethan a couple days ago, and
All
I
right.
still got him stumped. And he
Nice.
goes, he was trying to count something in class, and he's like, Dad, how many times how many times does 6 go into 18? I'm like, well, use your fingers. And he goes, well, I only have 10 fingers. I don't have that many fingers. And I'm like, how many times do you think 6 goes into 18? But that's beside the point. I said to him, I said, well, you're not lucky like me. You don't have 11 fingers. And he goes, what do you mean you have 11 fingers? And I said, I have 11 fingers. He goes, no, you don't. I said, I'll show you. I said, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 plus 5 is 11.
And with that, I will proceed to close.
I like that one.
You're
That's
very,
great.
very
I
welcome.
Brother
love
Junior
that. Thank you.
Deacon, is the lodge secure?
It is. Get out of here.
With that, you're lucky I don't use this
I
on your
know,
head.
I know.
Our special
Bravo.
guest,
Bravo.
Thank you very
special
much for
guest
having
this
me.
evening.
I appreciate it.
worshipful brother Adam Reich,
Thank you.
brother
Thank you.
Kevin Cotter,
Good night, everybody.
Society of King Solomon, and brother Junior Deacon Billy Bilbo.
Good night.
I am worshipful brother Andrew Rizzatello, and this has been another episode of The Extended Branch.
Thank you.
Good night.